Hey guys, welcome back to another one of my declutter videos. I just decluttered my blush collection. If you guys want to check out that video, I'll link it in the description box below. But today I'm going through and decluttering highlighters. I apologize because I have to film a voiceover for this video because I had a little issue with the audio. So I hope you guys don't mind. I didn't want to re-declutter my collection because that wouldn't really make sense. So I'm just kind of sharing a voiceover and letting you guys know which ones I decluttered and why. But my initial goal was to declutter about a third of my collection. Highlighters have been a favorite of mine for the past years, so I don't really want to go through and cut the collection in half because I truly do find myself enjoying the majority of the highlighters in my collection. That being said, there are highlighters that I don't use, so it was time to go through and declutter them and part with them, even though it was a little bit difficult. But make sure to subscribe or come back at the beginning of every week for a new declutter video because I'll be filming them in February and March, and let's jump into it. Okay, let me kick it off with the Becca Cosmetics Shimmering Skin Perfectors. So I only have the pressed versions. They also have poured versions and liquid versions, but I really like the pressed powder version, and I'm not going to declutter any of these. These are probably my favorite highlighters. Like if I had to get rid of all of my highlighters and only keep one brand, I would definitely choose Becca Cosmetics. They are a little bit pricey, but honestly, the formula is so good. They're very easy to work with, and I feel like they don't show texture on the skin, and I do struggle with texture. So I like how they just kind of glide over the skin. They look like you're glowing. You can build them up for a really just blinding effect, and they are my absolute favorites. The next highlighter is from Makeup Revolution. It is their Strobe highlighter, and I only have one shade, and I do like the formula of this highlighter, but I don't find myself wearing this color very often. It's kind of like a greenish highlighter, and it's really pretty if you are a fan of more colorful highlighters, but I really just find that I don't wear them very often, so I actually decided to declutter this one. It's pretty much brand new, so I thought I would pass it along to somebody else who might be able to enjoy it more than I do. The Makeup Revolution Vivid Baked highlighters are actually some of my favorite as well. I have two shades and they're kind of similar. I could probably declutter one of them, but honestly, I do use both of them very often. They're probably some of the most used highlighters in my collection, so I am going to hang on to both of these. They have additional colors on the website, but I didn't really think I would reach for them very often, so I haven't purchased them, but I love these two pink toned highlighters. Then I have the Ofra Highlighter in the shade Rodeo Drive, which I am going to hang on to as well. I promise I did declutter some of my highlighters, but I love this one. It's kind of similar to Becca Cosmetics, but the formula is a little bit different. So I'm going to keep it in my collection for now. If I find that I don't reach for it very often during the spring and summer, I will declutter it then. I only have one hard candy product in my collection, and it is their baked bronzer in the shade Tiki. I do want to try more of their products because I'm pretty sure they're cruelty-free, and this is marketed as a bronzer, but a lot of people use it as a highlighter because it is very, very light. I enjoy this product so much. When I swatch it, it's beautiful. It's a little bit more subtle on the face, but it's kind of old. I've had it for years and years, and honestly, I never reach for it. So because it is so old and I don't reach for it very often, I am going to declutter this one as well. The Laura Geller highlighter in, I think the shade is Rose Glow, is so beautiful. This is one of my favorite highlighters, but I don't wear it. It's a little bit too dark for my skin tone. This came as part of like a QVC set, and I enjoy it so much. The reason why I haven't decluttered it yet is because the formula is just so beautiful, and the color is equally as beautiful, but it's a little bit too dark for my skin tone, so I'm going to pass this along to a friend who has a darker skin tone who might enjoy it more than I do. I don't want to declutter it, but the fact is I just don't use it, so I have to part with it. I also have this Laura Geller Duo, and this one actually comes with a brush. $43 is a high price tag, but this highlighter is insanely beautiful. It comes with two different sides, so you can use them on their own or you can mix them together, and the one side gives you a little bit more of a subtle glow, and then the shimmery side is a little bit more of an intense glow, and the formula is just so high quality. I have to break this one back out because it's been a little while since I've had it in my everyday makeup drawer, and it's one of my favorites, so I am going to keep this one. However, I am going to declutter my MAC Cosmetics highlighters. These were like my first MAC products. I have two of them, but I went cruelty-free shortly after I bought these, and I didn't declutter all of the non-cruelty-free products from my collection, but this round I'm kind of doing that just because I don't find myself reaching for them anymore. They're really high quality and I really enjoy them, but when I don't talk about products on YouTube that aren't cruelty-free, I just don't find myself using them because I'm constantly testing out products. So I figured I would declutter these and pass these along to somebody else who might get a lot of use out of them and enjoy them because they're so high quality. They're very beautiful, but I myself just don't reach for them. I like them a lot and I would keep them, but if I don't wear them, they really just don't need to be in my collection. So I'm decluttering both of these to a friend or a family member. Then I have the e.l.f. Shimmer highlighting powders, and these are some of my favorites as well. They're kind of similar to the Becca Cosmetics highlighters, but they are a little bit different. I find the formula to be slightly more on the dry side. That being said, they're only $6, so if you don't want to spend the money on the Becca Cosmetics highlighters, but you want something somewhat similar, the e.l.f. Cosmetics highlighters are a good alternative. I really enjoy this formula. They're my favorite e.l.f. Cosmetics highlighters, and I love them. I definitely don't want to get rid of them. They have some additional shades on the website that are a little bit darker. So if you have a medium or tan or deep skin tone, check the website because there might be a few other colors that you might like better than the 3 that I have in my collection. I thought I would include this clip of me kind of organizing. I like watching people organize their collections, and I felt bad that I had to do a voiceover. Otherwise, you could have seen this in real time, but I think I figured out the audio. So for my future declutters, I can kind of declutter and do it in real time, if that makes sense. Anyways, the next highlighter in my collection is the Essence Cosmetics Pure Nude Highlighter, which again is one of my favorites. I love this one when I want a very subtle highlight. I don't have a lot of subtle highlighters in my collection, but this is one of the more subtle options. So it's a great day-to-day highlighter, and I love that it's cruelty-free and affordable, and you can find it at Ulta. I think Essence is sold at some drugstores, but I always get my products at Ulta. Then I have Illuminator by theBalm. I am going to keep this one as well. It is a dupe to, I think, one of the MAC highlighters. I can't remember for sure. I did a dupes video. I actually want to do another one coming up soon, but this is a beautiful color that I wear super often. I just got these Pop Beauty Prismatic Pop Illuminating Powders, and they're beautiful. I'm just going to give you a little hint. I'm going to be including them in a best new products at the drugstore video very soon because they're absolutely gorgeous. They're a little bit more expensive than some of the other drugstore highlighters, but the quality is beautiful. They're just very soft and blendable and easy to work with, and they have 4 different options. So I just added them to my collection. I'm still kind of testing them out. So for now, I'm going to hang on to them unless I decide, later on that one of the shades is a little bit too dark for my skin tone or something like that. But for now, I am going to keep them because they're still kind of in the testing phase. Then I have my Wet n Wild Megaglow highlighting powders. These are some of my favorites as well. I have a couple of shades. So I have Blossom Glow, which I'm going to keep, Precious Petals, which I'm also going to keep, but I am going to declutter the shade Crown of My Canopy. I kept saying that I was hanging on to it for like reference purposes, but I never wear it. It's a little bit too dark for me, so it's time to pass it along to somebody else who might be able to enjoy it more than I do. And then I'm also going to declutter Royal Calyx. I just don't wear bright colored highlighters. I stick with like nudes and golds and colors like that, but I don't really wear a lot of colorful highlighters, so I decided to stop buying them. I only have a couple in my collection, but I just don't wear them very often, so they kind of go to waste in my collection, so it's time to declutter this one as well, even though I do like these highlighters. And then the last one is in the shade Golden Flower Crown, which is one of my favorites, so I am going to keep that one. I have the Vintage Illuminating Face Highlighter, which I love. I got this one in a boxy charm. It's a little bit more of like a pinky coral highlight, but the formula is very nice and the color is really beautiful. So for now, I am going to keep this one as well. And then I have this e.l.f. liquid highlighter. I am decluttering pretty much all of the liquid or cream face products from my collection, like highlighters, blushes, and bronzers. So I'm going to declutter this one, even though it is a nice product. I actually reviewed it in a video and said that I gave it like my stamp of approval. So if you are a fan of liquid illuminators, I do think you would enjoy this. I personally just don't find myself reaching for it, so it's time to declutter it. And then same with the e.l.f. Beautifully Bare highlighting stick. This is a gorgeous highlighter. It's actually kind of unique because it's a little bit of like a golden coral shade and it looks so pretty on the skin, but because it is like a cream highlighter, I personally just don't find myself reaching for it at this time or at this point in my life. I prefer powder highlighters, so I'm going to declutter this one as well. I will also be decluttering the Sweat Cosmetics Gleam On Mineral Illuminator. This is really nice if you like a very subtle highlight, but I find that the brush is a little bit too big for me. I just don't find myself reaching for it very often. So if you're looking for like a subtle brush on highlighter, you might enjoy this, but it's just not something I reach for too often these days, so I thought I would go ahead and declutter this one as well and pass it along to somebody else who might enjoy it. I have another vintage illuminating face highlighter set, which comes with 2 different highlighters, and these highlighters are actually unique to my collection. I feel like I don't really have anything like them in my collection. Maybe the rose highlighter, but the more like bronzy shade is completely unique, and it's really beautiful on the skin. I absolutely love it. So I'm a big fan of these. I got them in a BoxyCharm. And then just a little bit more organizing that I thought I would share with you guys. My goal was kind of to declutter like one complete section so I could fit my highlighters, blushes, and bronzers in the same drawer. So moving on, the Smashbox Spotlight palettes. I talked about these in a recent video where I mentioned products that have like this hold on me that I just don't want to declutter even though I don't love them. But I think it is time to let them go, you guys. I don't reach for them, and they're not bad highlighters, but I just feel like they're not my favorite. I have so many other highlighters in my collection that I just love so much, and there's no point in keeping them if I don't wear them. I want to love them, but I really have given them like a fair shot. I've tried them so many times and they just don't work for me. So I'm doing it. I'm getting rid of them. I'm decluttering them, and I have to be done with them. I just don't use them. I also decided to declutter the Artist Couture Diamond Glow Powder. Now, I love this product a lot, but it's very similar to the Ofra Cosmetics highlighter and then a couple of the Becca highlighters that I have, at least the shade. It's a loose powder highlighter, so the actual formula is a little bit different, but I find myself hesitant to use this just because it's a little bit more on the messy side. I do use it and I love it. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to narrow down my collection a little bit, and this one, because it is similar to some of my pressed highlighters that I reach for more often, is just, it has to go, unfortunately. It's beautiful, I love it, but if I'm trying to be a little bit more selective, then this is one that I have to be, selective with, and I'm decluttering it. I just got the Becca Cosmetics Light Chaser highlighters, and they're amazing. I will link them in the description box below because they were originally $34 and they're on clearance for $17. They're pretty much almost sold out on the Sephora website, but a few of you guys recently told me you found them on the Becca Cosmetics website. So check Becca's website if they're sold out on Sephora's website. They're amazing. I'm definitely not decluttering these. They're my absolute favorite highlighter of the moment, next to like their original whatever they're called, their original highlighters. I love them both equally, even though they're a little bit different. So love these. Definitely check them out if you've been thinking about it. I have these e.l.f. baked highlighter duos. They come with like a blush on one side and a highlighter on one side, and then I have a bronzer version. I'm going to declutter them. I don't find myself reaching for them hardly at all. I just feel like, I don't know, split pan products usually aren't my favorite. I have a couple in my collection that I use, but in general, I just prefer to have like a whole blush, a whole bronzer. So I'm going to declutter the blush version and then also the bronzer version as well. That being said, I am going to keep the regular e.l.f. baked highlighters in my collection because I do enjoy them. They're not quite as high quality as like the shimmer highlighting powders that I shared toward the beginning of the video, but I still like them. Once you kind of scrape off that top layer and you get them to work for you, they do look pretty on the skin. I feel like they're a little bit more subtle than a lot of the highlighters that I have in my collection. So it's nice to have some more subtle options, some more affordable options. So I am keeping the ones that I have in my collection. I don't know if I would buy any more or if I would repurchase them, but because I have them and I enjoy them, I am going to keep them. The Laura Geller Baked Gelato Swirl Illuminators are really beautiful, but I don't wear all of the shades. So I actually decided to declutter Ballerina. It's so pretty and the formula is so beautiful, but this one's a little bit too dark for my skin tone. So even though I would love to keep all of them because they are so beautiful and they apply so nicely, I don't wear this one. So I decided to declutter it, but I decided to keep Gilded Honey because it is a unique gold, and I have a lot of gold highlighters in my collection, but there's something about this one that is so pretty on the cheeks that I had to keep it. I love it. So I do need to wear it more often, but I do love the color. And then I have Charming Pink and Peach Glow. Charming Pink is the lighter one. Peach Glow is a little bit more of like the peachy one. And I decided to declutter Peach Glow. The formula seems to have dried out a little bit, and it is a powder product, but when I swatch it, it doesn't swatch as nicely as the other ones. And anyways, it's a little bit too dark for me. So I just decided to get rid of that one. I'm actually going to toss that one because the formula has changed. I have a couple of the Catrice highlighting powders, and I like 2 of them, but I decided to declutter Champagne Campaign. It was way too subtle. And in general, that doesn't happen to me very often, but it just didn't really show up on my skin tone very well. It wasn't very shimmery or glowy. It just kind of almost looked like an illuminating setting powder, but it's not like the right shade to be used like that on my skin tone. So I decluttered that one, and then I kept Mary Cherry Blossom, which is a really beautiful pink toned highlighter. And then I also kept Stardust, which is a little bit pink toned as well, but this one's really shimmery and gorgeous. So I wanted to hang on to both of those. Okay, moving on to the ColourPop Super Shock highlighters. I actually swatched these. I probably should have swatched everything for you, but I just wasn't thinking at the time. I'll try to swatch in my upcoming declutter videos, but I split these into categories. So I have Yummy Cookies, then the next one is in the shade Frosted, which is a really pretty golden highlight, and then the third one is in the shade Wisp, which this one's a pretty popular one out of their Super Shock highlighters. So here's what they look like swatched next to each other. From the left, we have Wisp, in the middle is Frosted, and then on the right is Yummy Cookies. I decided to keep the left two and then declutter Yummy Cookies. It's an interesting highlight shade. I don't find it very flattering on my skin tone, and again, it's a little bit more on the subtle side, so I just don't wear it. So I wanted to declutter that one. Then for the next four, I have kind of like more white toned bright highlighters. So the first one is in the shade Lunch Money. The second one is in the shade Flexitarian, which I actually use as a highlighter and eyeshadow pretty interchangeably. And then the third one is in the shade Spoon, which is a really pretty color. It's really popular as well. And then the fourth one is in the shade Glazed, which is kind of like a tie-dye highlighter, which is like a couple of different colors mixed together. So these are what they look like swatched next to each other. I'll show you guys the first two to begin with. So the brighter one is Flexitarian, and the one on the right is Lunch Money. I decided to keep Flexitarian because I wear it all the time on the eyes and on the face, and then declutter Spoon because it was a little bit more subtle. And then the next two, the first one on the left is Glazed, and the second one on the right is Spoon. I decided to keep Glazed because it was a little bit prettier, a little bit brighter than Spoon, and they kind of look similar, and I didn't think I needed both of them, so I decluttered Spoon for my collection. And then the last four are kind of like pink toned highlighters. So I have Over the Moon, which is a really bright pink. This one, it could actually be used as a blush depending on your skin tone. Forget Me Not is another one of the tie-dye highlighters, so it has some bronze, some highlight mixed into it, but also some pink. Scrumptious is a really beautiful bright pink highlighter, so if you want more of an intense glow, this one's going to be a great option for you. And then the last one is Whipped, which is interesting. It's kind of like a pink toned sheer highlight with some glitter mixed in. So here's a look at them next to each other. Starting with the first two, I decided to keep Over the Moon, which is the one on the left. Forget Me Not on the right is a little bit too dark for my skin tone. I could use it as a blush, but I just don't really wear these as blushes, so I decided to declutter that one. And then moving on to the last two, I have Scrumptious, which is like the bright white highlighter, and then Whipped on the right. So I decided to keep Scrumptious because it is so bright and beautiful, and then Whipped just didn't really show up very well. I felt like it was just so subtle, and it just wasn't like a great quality highlighter, so I wanted to declutter that one. I have this ColourPop Here Comes the Sun Super Shock Cheek Palette. It's a duo. It comes with a Super Shock highlighter and then a Super Shock blush, but I just don't reach for it. I don't wear their blushes in this formula because they're definitely like cream blushes. I do like the highlighters in this formula, but I don't like the blushes, so I wanted to declutter this because I really haven't used it and I don't want it to go to waste in my collection. I have the Becca Cosmetics Jaclyn Hill palette, which I love. I'm definitely going to keep this. This is one product that I just love so much, not only because of the product, but because of the packaging. And I don't do that. Like, I don't keep products based on packaging ever, like ever. But I think that this is one product that I'll probably keep in my collection for a long time just because it is so beautiful. I love it so, so much. And I do enjoy the formula and the products as well. Then I have the Wet n Wild Megaglow highlighter palette. I never even used this, you guys. I bought it when it first came out just because I was like so obsessed with the Megaglow highlighters, but most of them are colorful and I just don't wear colorful highlighters. The pink toned ones are a little bit more wearable for me, but I already have pink Megaglow highlighters in my collection. So because it is brand new, I don't even know if I swatched it. I'm just going to pass it along to a friend or family member who can enjoy it more than I do. And that is the end of my declutter video. I think I did a pretty good job. I cleared out one entire section, and I definitely still have quite a few highlighters in my collection, but I'm okay with it. As long as I'm using them and loving them, I don't have a problem keeping them in my collection. It's when I'm not using them or they're old and they need to go, that's when I really need to declutter them. But these are all the highlighters I decluttered. I think I did a pretty good job. I got rid of over a third, which was my goal. And I think I'll do another highlighter declutter after this summer and decide, if I need to get rid of even more of them. So that is the end of my video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my upcoming declutter videos, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.